Hey guys, it is Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. I have an amazing track from Metallica today. I think I'm almost finished with Master of Puppets, actually. This is either the last, finishing out the whole album Master of Puppets, or maybe I got one more, I'm not sure. But we're going to learn how to do Leper Messiah. It's a great track, and maybe I'll have to find another classic album now that I'm going to do the whole thing. Maybe Nickelback's debut. Nah, I'm not going to do that. All right, so let's go into it. We are in standard tuning here. We're going to jump right into it. But first, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and ring the little notification bell so you'll know when I release a new video. Check out my Guitar Academy at GuitarLessons365.com. And if you look below, you'll see a little merchandise store. We can get these custom designs that people on the internet are already ripping off. But here's the original. If you want it, you can click it below. Helps the channel out and stuff like that. All right, so standard tuning. We're going to get through this one step at a time. We're going to cover all the rhythm parts and all the lead parts and all that stuff. So fun times. So let's start here with this intro that I just did. This little... All right, so this is interesting little. They use a lot of fourths and stuff in these riffs throughout this song. So it makes the guitar sound like it's almost a 7-string guitar. So it's really cool. So let's start here with this. So what I'm doing there, heavily palm muted. You're going to play the 3rd fret on the A and the D, then the 2nd fret on those 2 strings. Heavily palm muted. And then we're going to jump up here to this chord, which is going to be, it's actually a C power chord, but with the 5th in the bass. So that's the 3rd fret across the low E and the A string, along with the 5th fret there on the D. So that's what I mean. It really gives it that sound like it's playing on a 7-string guitar. So we have this. And then back to that same lick again. And then you're going to resolve it to the A power chord. So we have this. Then the same little. And then when we're going to do this riff again, but we're going to go, instead of going to this, we're going to go to a regular G power chord. So we have basically this. So we covered that. Then pretty much the same riff, except that the second time you play the chord, it's not that C with the 5th in the bass. It's just a regular G major power chord. All right, then we do that little riff, 3-chord riff again. And then we do it again, but this time a different ending. So it does that little 3-2 again, but now it's back to the G power chord. And then it takes it down to the F power chord at the 1st fret. So that can be a little bit confusing. So just let me just play through it real slow. Regular G power chord. G power chord, F. All right, then we start basically kind of working our way to the main riff, and we go. So that's that, kind of like the beginning of this when the track first started, except we go to that C, the G, and the bass, and then straight to the A. You don't do that G twice. I mean that C twice. And then we have this final little run that they use a lot in the track. So what's going on there? So it's those same 3rd fret on the A and the D, then 2, then the open A and the open D. So kind of all the way down. And then it goes down to the 3rd fret on the low E and the A. So, told you it's using a lot of fourths in here. And then we're going to go back to the second fret on the A and the D, then the open A and the D. So we have this. And then we're going to go real quick little, kind of speeds up there. 3, 2, 1 on the low E. So we have this. And then it takes us to the main riff there. The main riff now looks like this. So we're going to start with the E power chord. Then that goes to the F sharp power chord at the second fret. Hit that a couple times. Then you're going to play the third fret, the tritone. The devil in music. The third fret there on the A string, and then back to the F sharp power chord. Play this. And then just 2, 3, 2, just so this. Then we go back to the E power chord. Then it's a quick little. So it's a 2, 0, 2, heavily palm muted. Over to that third fret there on the A again. And then back to the F sharp power chord. So far we have this. And then here, it goes back to the 2, 3, and then there's 2, instead of going like that, he goes kind of heavily palm mutes that second fret, the power chord a couple times at the end. So we have this all together. Repeat. All right, so then we're gonna let this just low E power chord ring, and then we have the little kind of backward snare drum section of the thing. Reverse snare drums, better, not backwards. That'd be dumb. All right, so this. Now live, they'll kind of try to recreate it. Kind of just with, which they're not doing on the record, they're just doing. And that little snare drum effect is going. So we have this, if you want to do that, just kind of have the strings muted and just kind of rake backwards across the strings. Or rake up. And then we had that little this little transition that takes us to the verse. So that is basically that. So just a kind of a short snippet of the first riff that we played in the song. So we had this 3-2 again, goes on the A and the D. That C with the G and the bass, C power chord with the G and the bass. And then once again the 3-2s to the open A. And then you're going to grab the 2 3s by themselves with this. There's a little pause, and then we get into this riff, which is actually going to be how the riff and the verse is going to be. So this riff is pretty cool. It's you're going to grab those two, the 3 on the A and the D, and slide them real quick down to the second fret on the A and the D. So we have, you do that slide, then a couple of hits on the low E, muted. And then the last time you play it, the rhythm on the low E string is going to change a little bit. So this. So it's like a quick little down, down, up, and so I do this. You hear that? All right, so this is repeat. After you just do it on the repeat now, when you just do this, it goes, you know, you probably know the song already. It just does that whole same little figure again. Just, and then jump straight into the riff. Now, then we get to the verse section. Now, the verse section is very cool. Kind of elaborates on what we just did. So the verse section looks like this. All right, so it's that same riff we did. Remember that the very last time it goes up to this 5th fret here, right? And then we're gonna now do that same riff, but now off the F sharp. So now what Hetfield does is he plays it like this. And then when he jumps, when he gets to the F sharp, he does it, bars his pinky. He does it with his pinky. I'm just kind of using 2 fingers there to hold those 2 notes. So it's just taking the 2 5s, slide down to 4, and it's that same riff, same rhythm, but the low note is the F sharp 2nd fret. So it is. You hear that same riff? So all together. Repeat. All right, then we get to the 1 minute and, what is it? 1 minute and 28-second mark. We got this kind of little chromatic riff. So that's very quick. It's just a low E power chord, and then the power chord up at the 6th fret on the A string, then 5, then 4, repeat. And then just after that, at the 1 minute and 35-second mark, I'm calling this the pre-chorus. It's one of my favorite riffs in the song because they're taking these 4ths down the 6th and the 5th to the low E and the A string, and it sounds really cool. It looks like this. Now that little part there at the end, that was really the chorus, but I'll skip that for now. So we're gonna just play these 8th fret off the low E and the A string. So we're gonna basically hit, and what happens is they play through this 4 times, and the rhythm on the low E string, on the open E, between these chords changes on the 3rd and 4th time. So now the 1st and 2nd time we play through this, so I just, hitting the 2 8s, He actually plays it with just his middle finger. So really, if you just, whatever finger feels good. So so these two 8s, he just hits them and slides to 7 real quick. Then the low E open twice. And then slide 7 6, low E open twice. Slide 6 to 5, low E open twice. And then 5 to 4. So this, you're gonna do that twice. All right, now we're gonna do the riff. Now we're starting the 3rd time through, but the little in between, instead of just doing 2 hits, it's gonna go dun da da. That little same little that we had in the verse, down down up. That's gonna be. You hear that? All right, so that's the 3rd time through. Then we go through the chords one more time, and we just straight 16ths, down up down up. So the whole riff, I'll kind of play it slow so you can hear the differences as it goes. They just kind of build up on that rhythm each time. So it is. All right, and then out of that we have the chorus. What I call the chorus riff, very very short, and it goes through this little transition riff back to the verse. It sounds like this. All right, so that was a lot going on, but it's a lot of riffs that we've already seen. So we're just gonna start with this chorus out of this. So that's just a regular power chord now, not a 4th. So at the 4th fret on the low E string power chord, and take it, slide it down to the 3rd fret. So you just do that like 3 or 4 times. And so 4 times. And then we go to that main riff. Now, what happens when they play the main riff for pretty much the rest of the song is when they started repeating it around the 2nd time, halfway through, right after this, instead of going a 2nd time, we stop there and do that. So basically, you can see what it. So this is the 1st time. Now the 2nd time. Right here. Now we did that before. That kind of started, that little 3-2 to the C with the G and the bass, and to the A chord, and then that full descending lick. And then we're back to the same verse that we had before, the same little chromatic riff out of it, and the same little pre-chorus. All right, and then we have this little transition that goes into the kind of the solo section. So basically it goes to the same. So it does that same, goes back to that same riff coming out of the pre-chorus and the chorus, and then that same little. We had that little thing, so they pause there, and then they extend it a few times like this, and then that Kirk Hammett's kind of first I just call them a lot. It's not a true solo. It's kind of just like kind of a melody interlude. Let's call it an interlude. All right. So, but what's going on there is just 3 2 0, 3 1 3 2 1 0. Like it's kind of 3 more extended at the end. All right, so now we get to that, the first interlude. Let's just call it that. So this is the first interlude section, and the chords that work underneath that are pretty simple. It's just low E power chord, F, G, A, low E power chord, then the D power chord over in the 5th fret of the A string, and then over to the 5th fret of the low E power chord. And then that's A to B. So those are the chords pretty much that are used throughout this whole interlude, the whole bridge, the whole solo, and the second interlude section that happens after the solo. So it's pretty much, now he plays different kind of rhythms with those, but it's, so the chords are E, F, G, A, E. So it goes, there's some pausing there too. It's just easy to kind of follow the rhythm. You just follow the track, but the chords are the most. All right, so that is what's going on underneath that first interlude section. So let me show you what's Kirk Hammett's playing during that part. All right, so this is up at the 7th fret on the A string. Now, he kind of like the beginning, the first and last note he lets ring, but the other notes are pretty heavily muted within the individual melodies. So you have the 7th fret there on the A string, over to 9th fret there on the D, but then 10, 9, 7 on the A. So you heavily palm muting, then I'm going to let that last note ring. So I'm going to do that little melody twice. And then we have this. So that one's a little bit odd, and it's kind of hard to pick up on the recording because it's so heavily muted, the notes, but that's actually it's pretty dissonant sounding, but that's the notes he's doing. So we have this 8 on the A, 9 on the D, and then play 11, 10, 8. So this. So we have this all together. So then we have this. So you'll hear that underneath that. So that's the same chords we did before. And then here we have this. So that's kind of heavily palm muted too. 12, 10 on the A string. And then 9 on the D, back to that 12 on the A. And then 10 on the D, back to that 12 on the A. So it is. And then play 9, 10 on the D. So we kind of start over. And then here, we have this. After starting over that same first melody twice, we go over to the D string. You can hit 9 twice on the D, 8, 7. And then that same little ending figure that we did before. So all together. repeat. Now the last time, after doing that, 9, 9, 8, 7, he just jumps back and grabs the power chord to start playing the bridge riff. So the A power chord, the B, and then we get to the bridge riff, which looks like this. So, fast rhythm, same chords we did before. So the quick 16th note, 1, 2, 3, 4, bong, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now that ending, those last two chords are different. Kind of hit that A, then a quick little on that B. All right, so now we've made it to the solo section. There's pretty much the same chords, kind of more of a gallop going on in Hetfield's part. Same chords though that we did before, and then we have the solo that happens over that. So let's, I'll play through the solo real quick for you, and then I'll take you through it note by note. So here we go. All right, so there's some wah that kicks in halfway through that I didn't kick in, but don't worry about it. So we're gonna have first some arpeggios. So we're gonna start with a D minor arpeggio. I'm sorry, an E minor arpeggio. So hopefully you can do your sweeps. We're gonna play. What you're gonna do is you're gonna start with an upstroke. Pull off 19 to 15. And then into an upstroke there on the 17th fret there on the B string. Then over to the 16th on the G. And that's when we start the downstroke. Go back up, 17 on the B, and 15 on the high E. So we have this. So it's just a 6-note sweep pattern. Up, up, down, down, down. Up, pull, up, down, down, down. So you're gonna repeat that for a while. Like 4 times. And then we're gonna move up here to the F major sweep. So it's the same pattern, just a little bit different notes. So we're going to be pulling off from the 20th fret to 17, over to 18 on the B, and the 17 on the G. And then, so the same pattern, up, pull, up, down, 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 up, pull, up, down, down, down. Then take this exact same F major one and move it up to G major. So all together for the sweeps. Repeat. So he goes back to repeat the second time through. He'll do the E minor ones 4 times again, and then he does this little scale run down the high E string before he doesn't go to the F and G triad. So the little scale run looks like this. All right, so this is just down the E minor scale on the high E string. And what he does is typical Kirkhamic lick. It's a 4-note lick. So what you're gonna start here 22, 20, 19, then down, you're gonna shift down to 17. So that's the lick. And then he basically is going to do that off of starting now the next note down the scale, which is C. So now we have 20, 19, 17, 15. That's the next 4 notes. And then we're going to play 19, 17, 15, 14. And then 17, 15, 14, 12. Still the same lick, just repeated down the scale. 15, 14, 12, 10. And then 14, 12, 10, down to 8. And then 12, 10, 8, 7. So we had just... And then the last one would be 10, 8, 7, 5. Then it takes us to the bend at the 15th fret on the B. All right, so now that lick that happens after when you start the bends here at the 12th position, we have this. All right, so this part right here, we're going to start with the 2 bends at the 15th fret on the B string. And then play 15, 12, over to 14 on the G, back to 12 on the B, and do those bends again. All right, now here we have a quick little part that just kind of goes through the E minor pentatonic. And it's one of those kind of random noise things. It's just kind of picking between 12 and 15 on the high E, and then the same thing on the B. And then 14, 12 on the G. And then it gets to these double stops here on the B string. Now on the recording, it sounds kind of odd. It almost sounds like he's doing an oblique bend, which means he would be holding the 15th fret on the B and then bending the 14th fret on the G. But he can also be playing the 14th fret on both of those and bending them both up, which is probably what he's actually doing. So you're kind of taking them both and bending both of those notes up. Then we have a really cool lick that is another kind of signature Kirk Hammett lick here to end the solo. It looks like this. All right, so that is going to be an E minor lick, kind of based around an E minor arpeggio. So we're pulling off that 19 to 15 again on the high E, over to 17 on the B, and then back to the 15th fret on the high E. So I have a down, pull, down, up. Now he does kind of the same thing, but he varies it on the high E string by pulling off 19 to 15, then 17 to 15, and then ending it with the same 2 notes, 17 on the B, and then the 15th on the high E. So we have this, the first one, and then the second one. Now what I do there when I do the pull-offs, I just hit each one of the downstroke. So the only upstroke is that note right there. That's the way this. And repeat that one that we just did. So all together. So that's basically one time through the lick. He does it twice. So we had this. But he does it at a warp speed. And then up to the 20th fret bend there. Now when he does this bend, he grabs he has the B string. That's what you hear, that extra noise in there. He's grabbing the B string when he's doing the bend. A release, pull off 19 to 17, over to 20 on the B, and then up to the 22nd fret bend there to end the solo. All right, so now we've gotten to the second interlude section. So this second interlude section is very similar to the first. Same chords, same chords, same chords under it, but it changes slightly. It's a little bit more involved with Kirk Hammett's part. So it looks like this. All right, so that's the second interlude section. So it's a little bit more going on here. Starts the same melody though. And then it just, after you do that, it repeats that 10-9-7. So this. All right, and then we repeat that exact whole thing again. So we have, instead of holding that note, we go. Understand? So, and then we go up to this one. So that one starts with the dissonant version, and then it resolves to the more diatonic version. So we have this, that 8 on the A string, 9 on the D, and then you got to go 10, 11, 10, 8 on the A, then 12, 10, 8 on the A. So we move that note up to the 12. So it's very slight little differences, but you know it's there if you really slow it down. So, and then we have that same ending. So that same thing. Repeat. All right, now after you've started the repeat, just like before, we're going to go. We do that 9, 9, 9, 8, 7, and then it plays 9, 8, 7 again. Go. So we play that 9, 9, 8, 7, 9, 8, 7, and then it comes back and grabs that half chord of the 5th and the 7th, and repeat. All right, so that's the end of, like I said, Hetfield's playing still those same chords as the first interlude section. And then just maybe a little bit more upbeat version of it. And then we have, where are we at now? We are at this little riff that kind of transitions us back to the chromatic riff. So we have this right here. We have what? Back there. So there's a little riff, more of a gallop feel again. The 5th fret power chord, and then up to the 7, down to 3. And then here, it almost sounds like you get to a C sharp power chord, but he's not. He's going down to an F sharp power chord. And when he goes to that F sharp power chord, he's kind of accenting those A and the D strings. So we have this. Then after that, then he accents those notes, keeps doing that gallop on the low E string, 2nd fret, and then take it down the 1st. There's another chord in there too. There's an A in there. There's an open A string in there too. So you could actually do it like this. If you wanted this low E and then get the open A string instead of the 1st fret on the low E. But I think it's kind of a couple guitars there, but it's really hard to pick up. It's really heavily muted and all that stuff. So that takes us to this, back to the chromatic riff that we did earlier, but it's a little variation on it. So that's basically just the same riff, 6, 5, 4, a few times, and then down, 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 down. So that on the low E power chord, repeat. And the second time now, you're gonna play that rhythm on the 3rd fret power chord. And then we had this little die part at the 5 minute and 1 second with this. We had this. So that's at the 5 minute and 1 second. So we had this starts at the E power chord, and then the 6th fret, the A and the low E together. Then 5, 4. So get that rhythm going. And then after you've done that a couple times, we're here at the end of the song. We do that rhythm off the G power chord. 2, 3, 4, 5. Little dive bar action. So now after that little whammy bar dive, we had this little transition riff again that we've played earlier into the main riff that ends the song. So this whole ending looks like this. All right, so that's that same little descending riff we did to start it. Same riff. Repeat. Remember on the repeat, we do kind of just half of the second repeat and go to this little. I heard that earlier, so that those little 3, 2, 4th intervals on the A and the D. Into that C power chord with the G and the bass. Then the 3 2s again to the A power chord. Full descending riff. So all the way to the E power chord, a little pause, and then that F power chord. And some hits on the low E to end it, on the low E power. 1, 4. All right, so that is it for that monster. It's another one, another great Metallica track. I don't know. I mean, how does a band have so many great songs? I don't know. It's just crazy. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you again soon. We'll probably another Metallica song. They always keep coming, I guess. All right, I'll see you guys again soon. Bye bye.